Welcome back to the Best PT Podcast. This is episode 3.19, the education of children with disabilities in the United States of America. So today we'll talk about a couple of different laws and acts passed to facilitate the education of children with disabilities. The first is the Education for All Handicapped Children Act of 1975, which is the origin of the IDEA Act, which we'll talk about more in depth a little bit later. The Carl D. Perkins Vocational Education Act of 1984 required each state to meet the needs of individuals with handicaps or disadvantaged adults. The Carl D. Perkins Vocational and Applied Technology Act provided free, appropriate education in the least restrictive environment for individuals with disabilities aged 3 to 21 years old. The IDEA Act, or the Individuals with Disabilities Educational Improvement Act, authorized early intervention services. Amendments to the IDEA Act split the IDEA Act into four distinct parts, defined responsibilities of school districts, mandated that school systems prepared individualized education programs, or IEPs, for every eligible child, and the main thing to note here is that physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, and counselors are included and mandatory for the IEP planning process. So before the IDEA Act, only 20% of children in America with disabilities received education. Over 1 million children were prevented from entering the educational system, and 3.5 million children with disabilities were undereducated. After the IDEA Act, 6.5 million children with disabilities are served every year, and 96% of all children with disabilities are served within a regular school setting. It also authorized early intervention for children from birth to 3 years old prior to entering the school system. We also have Rehabilitation Act amendments that introduced transitional planning following high school graduation to coordinate assistive technology and rehabilitation needs. And finally, the most recent, the No Child Left Behind Act, resulted in federal accountability of educational performance that included looking at subgroups of students based on poverty, race, ethnicity, English-speaking ability, and disabilities. This was an attempt to close the achievement gap between disadvantaged, disabled, or minority students with their peers. That's it for episode 3.19, the education of children with disabilities in the United States of America. If you've been with me since the beginning, this is the end of the neuromuscular system, and we have now covered 55% of the NPTE content between the musculoskeletal and neuromuscular systems. The next set of episodes will discuss the cardiopulmonary system and the lymphatic system. Thank you for joining me.